All right, our guest today on the Plumbify Podcast is Nathan Bishop, who is the Safety Manager for the Master Builders Association of SA. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Now, mate, for a bit of context, can you just let us know a bit about your background in safety in the workplace and also about your role at the Master Builders?
Absolutely. So, been a month in with this role with Master Builders, and yeah, I'm honoured to be here today. So, thanks very much for the opportunity.
No worries.
Have
Thanks
a
for
bit of a
coming.
chat, and I'm pretty impressed with how you guys have got it all set up and how we're going about it today. But yeah, basically from safety, I've pretty well lived and breathed safety for over 20 years, a commercial diver, and using that with years of work in mining industry and also construction here in Adelaide. Safety has become a daily part of it's not just in your daily work, it's in life in general. So basically my whole belief in that from the time we're born and we're born into this world, we have parents, we have guardians to guide and coaches, and don't touch the iron, it's hot. Right through to the later years in life when we're either at a stage where we're having someone look after us because of health issues or what it may be. There's risk management in everything. Common occurrence that we would be reading about daily is the current road toll within South Australia.
Doubled, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible actually
Shocking.
to even think that in today's day and age with better, safer roads, the vehicles are far greater safer than what they were years ago. The amount of advertising, the amount of police presence, we're still faced with what we have. And basically, at the end of the day, we are a human being, and we haven't got those instincts ingrained in us to be able to protect us where there's fear or danger present. And that incompetence of the human through complacency at times is what not only needs to be monitored on a work site, or if you're not careful out in your day-to-day, whatever you may be doing, it could be a weekend, things can happen which can ultimately change your life forever. So the risk management of how we live and how we go about it, from the food we eat to the what we drink and how we live it with fitness and whatnot, it's also a big part of risk management. So it's right across the board. It's my interest with it has got to the stage where I've been fortunate about being able to work in it now for close to 20 years. And I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate to ensure that the younger generation are adopting the right techniques and the skills to be able to then pass it on to other people. And regardless of generational gap, there's just it's forever changing. But the thing is, we have to keep constantly challenging and measuring ourselves on it because it's changing, and it's changing at a rate of knots. We have to try and keep up with the program. So,
And like you said, I'll let you go next, Luke, but that is true. What you said is like a workplace accident can change your life forever. That is a good point, actually.
It is the domino effect from that. I lost an uncle to a workplace accident, and then seeing the domino effect through my father, becoming crook because of the stress and worry of how his sister was going to, undertake the business with the requirements around that. So the domino effects that they do happen from a workplace incident or accident, and it's regardless if it's at the extent of the loss of life, but even right down to the minor lost time injury, the ability to be able to get back into the groove of working and getting in that program is paramount, and it's something that with the programs that I've been involved with and the larger companies I've worked with, it's given me a good understanding that being there as a full support for someone, whether and as I said, regardless of generational gap, it's just having that support that they feel comfortable and they understand the whole context of being able to get back into that workspace as quickly as possible. Long-term lost time injuries, in my eyes, something that few and far between today, because the management of the process with good return to work coordinators and people offering the support that's needed to ensure that people have got all the tools around them to be able to get back to work. So,
Speaking about before, you were saying the recent road toll and everything. What's happening kind of now in the construction industry? It seems like there's a lot of new things coming in. What sort of like hot topics at the moment in this construction, but plumbing and
safety is always going to be at the forefront within the construction industry. The construction industry and the mining industry are pretty well side by side, where statistically from years gone by, one would be in front of the other with workplace-related deaths or accidents of high capacitation, and then construction industry in front, mining industry. So one period of the mining industry would be in front. Now the mining industry, going back from the mid-90s when I first entered into that sector as an operations worker, before I got into safety, was pretty well Gestapo style safety, and this is the way, and it was ruled with fear. Whereas today, and I'm a big preacher of delivering safety around the love, around giving the guidance, the coaching, the education, and the support of the people that are doing it, creating an environment that's predominantly walking on eggshells as far as safety, and the fear that can be created with it is, to me, is a bygone era, because I have been fortunate enough to be able to deliver safety programs that will not only build culture within the workplace, but ultimately lead to an increase in your bottom line for the monetary value of what businesses are there for. And at the end of the day, we're all there to make money, and we need to ensure that we're doing it as best and as safe as we can. So where construction's at, with there's always ever changing. Working heights is a big one. That's going to be
tethering, I think, is it? We spoke about that a fair bit.
Yeah, well,
tethering of tools.
So tethering of tools when working at heights is to me, it's a no-brainer. If you're on a scaffold that's 6 meters or even 4 meters at height, and you're watching some scaffold crews work, and they've got everything tethered off, and it's amazing to watch people work at heights when they've got all the right equipment in place. Basically, we've all understood what the gravitational force of something of small size in nature, like of a
just a socket head or something coming from 10 meters high.
Absolutely, can do some
hole in your head.
Yes, so it can do some serious damage. So ensuring that's all in place, your kickboards, and it's basically your site safety doesn't just stop with the safety guy. There's ownership from project managers to operations guys. You guys come in as a contractor. There'd be no doubt either of you two guys would be doing. You'd have your safety hat on, then you'd have your operational front on, and they work. They're combined. It's a combined hat, and it's just ensuring I call it unconscious behaviour. You don't need to be told about it. It's just happening through those eyes of the safety lens, and basically that's a big part of my focus is ensuring that mindfulness with that unconditional unconsciousness, where you don't have to have a safety meeting, a toolbox meeting every morning to be able to tell the people, right, look out for this, and this, because it should just be coming like you put your left and your right shoe on each foot. All right, it is that simple. And believe me, the safety game in this world is the easiest game to play. And I spoke with some guys yesterday in relation to changes within a safety management system that predominantly will be happening right across the board in the coming months, with some changes to the standards, with the maturity of ISO standards, and the combination of the 48001 into the 4501, and how management are going to enforce, not so much enforce, but what management are going to do to ensure the ownership from them, regardless of whether they've got safety within their business, because that ownership of that plays a big part of ensuring they're going to be delivering a safe work environment. So,
and that actually leads perfectly into the next question we're going to ask is the regulations seem like they change quite often, and companies can get left behind, especially the smaller style companies who don't have the resources to have dedicated safety people. So we wanted to ask, what is the best way for a company to stay ahead of the game? And
even just employees as well in general.
Absolutely. So, as I think I mentioned, the ever-changing world of safety is constantly challenged and measured, and there is standards and procedures that have regular updates. So, Safe Work, yes, they provide majority of all the standards updates through their website.
Okay.
Also, with people in my position and being a part of Master Builders, I can offer that service to the likes of you guys that are members, and basically when such notifications are in the process of whether it's going through the consultation process through governing bodies until they're rolled out, I can give you a bit of a heads up on where things are at, what things may look to be changing. Getting feedback from people that are in the know at the coalface is a big part of offering feedback to the likes of the governing body that are looking to make changes, which is also what Master Builders have got a fantastic network to do. So, and that whole consultation process is so important in ensuring, the change to any particular standard or regulation is been consulted accordingly, and the information that's provided back to the people that are making the changes is there. So at the end of the day, the changes aren't made to make it difficult, make it harder. There to make things better. So it's just they're basically improvements on what's been there and what they've learned from, and we're going to make sure that the information is in not only rolled out but an understanding, understood, and a reason for it. The reason or how has this changed? Because at times people can look at why and how come, and look to put up all the, I wouldn't say the negative aspect of it, but we'll challenge it for the detriment of what are we gaining out of it? Well, adopting it, and when something is matured and taking it on board, and generally then the major changes, there'll be obviously a lot more time that will go into that process. Major changes aren't, the spine's really there. It's just a little bit of massaging and manipulation of what currently is in place, and they'll be pretty well minor changes, but it's a big part of where things are at, and that's what we've got to constantly look at doing, is challenging what processes are in place and making sure that we're moving forward to a continually, and they could have come from incidents that may have taken place. There could have been a spate of incidents that may have occurred, in which there could have been multiple people injured, or there could have been unsurety on understanding. So it's just streamlining the whole process. So
and obviously it's the responsibility of kind of the management. So in our instance, it's kind of the responsibility of us to make sure the employees and the guys out in the field have all the tools necessary to be able to do their job safely, and we find our responsibility to keep them up to date with the standards. And I think the best way to do that is like having toolbox meetings, obviously not all the time, but when something comes out, what do you find the best way to kind of deliver it to the people on ground?
The left and the right hand knowing and understanding what's expected is paramount. Especially from you guys in business owner and in a managerial position. That's a big part of changes to the standard with the safety management systems. As many times I've been involved in auditing process where we've gone out to audit a particular business where we've got a safety management system. They hand you the folder. You tip that folder upside down, and what falls out of it's very little. and from that, working with many companies that have got something that has been put in place in the way of a safety management system, I'm there side by side with them to be able to get it to the level that it may need. Most safety management systems need to be absolutely aligned to what the business objective is. And the whole application to what their business does, whereas some people may, I have seen a generic sort of plagiarized system that has been, looks good in the big folder, big binding folder, but when you look to
when you actually have to open it,
absolutely, the authenticity of it really is worlds apart. So ensuring that the safety management system is aligned to how your business is structured, and ensuring then who has the role of making sure that those processes are in place and they're being done accordingly. The event of investigation, or if there was a major workplace incident, accident, whereas they're the first sort of things that will be looked upon to ensure that things are in place to make sure they're working accordingly.
Can I ask what's say, because a lot of people who are listening to this are probably guys who might have 2 or 3 employees, or they're trying to build, and is there a best practice for toolbox meetings? Like, is it once a month? This has to be like the data collected in a certain way and then sent out to everyone to sign off on, or what's the best process for a toolbox meeting?
So like instances like with what you're running here with an organisation that has multiple employees that are predominantly at multiple job sites. So to try and gather them all together to do a daily toolbox is impractical for the business, because the cost associated, you'd be losing hours in the day to get everyone together. So, from where I sit, basically, a weekly toolbox talk, whether it be the Monday morning, a weekly toolbox talk, which is your first port of call to be able to bring all the guys together. It's also good for a ability to give ownership to the guys out in the field. The younger guys that may be in a training apprenticeship program can then look up to the older guys around expectation with safety. And this is all a part of that unconscious behaviour, which is then inbred at a culture, at a level of the starting of the workplace culture, which just happens. To measure that as far as a return on investment for doing that, I wouldn't be looking at trying to get a return on investment first up for that hour or 3/4 an hour or maybe the 2 hours of the week to bring it together. All right, I'd be more so looking at it as just to get the guys together, so the left and the right hand is well and truly knowing what's going on for the weekly work process. If there's been an issue, an incident that may have may have come to a fore in the previous week, you talk about that. If there was an issue with one of the staff that may have had an accident or an incident, that so preventative measures around that, those safety alerts need to go out straight away to ultimately make sure that it doesn't happen again, or potential harm that could be caused through the unidentification of a hazard that may be present out there. But if you put a program in place where you are doing your weekly toolbox talks, and then as I don't know whether social media devices like exactly what we're doing today, out to your work group through a text SMS process to just keeping sharp on the ball with the. It could be
have to be all written, surely, wouldn't it?
The big part about it's all got to be recorded. So basically, with your toolbox talks, you'd have a list of all the names that all sign on. So that way, you've got accountability. Listen, we discussed this in a meeting going back in April. So April in safe work for the month of April is falls. Working at height. So they probably, I reckon it was well marketed how they've used falls for the month of April, given the first day of the month.
Yeah.
So, whether or not you're related to guys that could be on a roofing job today, and there could be, say, a change of weather's been forecast for today. So the risk assessment that they may have signed onto this week, last week, or whenever they may have done it, just being aware to potential hazards that could be encroaching on their work for the day. So that, from where I would sit with you two gentlemen, would be a good way of an SMS today. Hey guys, expected temperature of 24 degrees, late showers and high winds.
So just being proactive, hey?
It's a proactive approach, but what it is you're on the front foot with it, and then you record that as well. So you record all your, what you're implementing from a safety perspective. Obviously, you're going to have your toolbox meetings, and then they would be minuted, and you'd file that. So that would then be the a good start of you building your safety management system to be able to get it to a level of where things meant to be. Discoverable evidence, guys, stands up in court. So if you can pull documentation out that has times, dates, and initials of each and every one of the individuals that are working for you, we have actually discussed it, because I can assure you, 9 times out of 10 in investigations and after an incident's happened, I was unaware of that. The denial card will be played quite often with I was unaware of that, or I was unsure of that. Well, hang on a minute, we discuss this as a business moving forward. So just around their expectations of what you would be wanting to get.
Yeah, sweet.
Obviously, toolboxes are one thing, getting them recorded. What other kind of main responsibilities does an employer have to the employees in regards to safety, or what needs to be in place?
The work environment is paramount. The accountability. Obviously, under I think it's Section 10 of the Act, the employees have their obligation to ensure that what they're doing as far as their obligation to not only the workplace, it extends to the environment, extends to the working parties around them. If there's simultaneous operations within a construction site, and ensuring that basically they are once again who's coordinating the information from the team leader here onto there could be some electricians, or there could be another work crew. How's that being formulated from where you sit? You two guys may be unaware if you're both working from the office, and there may have been a change to the scope, how you're getting information from a particular builder that could affect your guys working. So once again, you would have your daily chats with whoever it may be, and then forwarding that information through if there's changes. the leading hand out there, whether or not you have an acceptance of a response via a text message and a yes, okay. If you don't hear from that particular guy, you'd ring them and say, listen, did you see that guy or girl today? Because it's massive in our world today. The amount of females that are coming into the construction industry is magnificent, and it's a good part of where the construction industry really go.
I'd love to. I just thought of this question because I'm pretty sure we spoke about it possibly at the contractors meeting. We spoke about women in trades.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you had an interesting point that everyone's really happy to get more women in trades because they're more safer.
So
as a generic whole.
Just coming off of a project at Olympic Dam, they have a 38% workforce of female, and they're looking to, that's BHP, of course, but obviously the associated contractors that are working within that area up there have also adopted the concept in which they're going with female staff. I was fortunate to work with many female safety professionals in my time up there, and that you are right, Matt. I would probably the attention to detail from an auditing perspective, and also just their way of going about safety, looking at from how
more calculated, I'd imagine.
A different approach, just that different approach in an industry where, my first stint back up there after 10 years was for a major shutdown. The major shutdown facility was also facing the COVID restrictions of flying in and out of the state when the particular government at the time had banned entry and exit and the closure of borders. So basically, the retention of our staffing for the timing that we had to do this project was paramount on how we're going to do it. I was just fortunate that working side by side with a female senior safety personnel was I learned from her approach, because it was good to be able to, she was not only challenging me and I was challenging her, so we learned from one another. And from that, I've built relationships, which now we speak weekly on where things are at in her world and vice versa. So with me moving forward into this role, and with the extended growth of females within the construction industry, it's given me a fantastic understanding of expectation around of what's required. So, and as I think I said to you, Matt, their attention to detail with whether it be auditing or just on the ground safety, the take five, first initial hazard identification risk assessment.
That's where
and their visions of looking at it. Now one of the
not like gung ho was just a typical roofer. Nothing against roofers, but
the application around it is I couldn't fold it. So
awesome.
Yeah,
I'd love to know from your experience, what are some of the most common misunderstood safety things that come to mind, like misconceptions people have, not so much around from incidents that you might see, not so much around like blatant disregard for safety, but is there anything that comes to mind for you where, it's just a common industry belief that you can do X or the best procedure is X, but really it's Y? And some that might come to mind for me is like asbestos handling. Like some people that you hear say that you see around the traps reckon you can take it out X amount of square meters without a license or whatever, and then someone else will tell you it's something totally different. Is there any of these common misconceptions you can see as patterns?
Oh, the biggest one I've found in this industry wasn't me. Blaming, putting accountability back on, say, employees, and this is not in any way focused at your employees, but that they will be blaming management or blaming, rather than having ownership to what they may have done or what may have happened and what they may have not known. I say it all the time. I think I've already mentioned, if the risk assessment or the paperwork for the task being done has had an attempt, and maybe not to a level of expectation that you'd expect, and through maybe the eyes of an investigation, whether it be through safe work or whoever it may be, if there's been an attempt and the information provided in that documentation is really limited, I'm working with them 100%, because obviously then it comes back to then giving the education and the retraining and all the tools as you mentioned to be able to facilitate this. But the individual that has simply neglected to make any effort, that's my boss's.
Yeah.
That's my boss's problem.
Yeah.
Or it's like hands are going either way, looking to blame other people rather than take ownership to it. That's a sort of, in today's world of safety, that's to me is as a cop out, and that's just rather than look to take ownership for something that you may not be aware of, is what we need to keep working on.
Yep.
Because there's still plenty of them today that believe that they don't need any documentation. I guess I'm probably going to see more of this on the domestic front within the house building, within this sector that I'm going to be focused with, and from myself and master builders, I'm there purely as a support to be able to, if they haven't got it, they don't know how to do it. We have all the template tools within our workspaces on the internet for access for members to be able to use. And if they're unsure, I'm only a phone call away, and I'm more than happy to assist them to be able to get it to the level that they need. But putting the onus on someone else is probably the biggest. As you mentioned, asbestos is a big thing today. Yeah. It's not going away. We've got silicosis now that's knocking on the door. It's major out there with the recent 60 Minutes documentary going back a month or so ago, which highlighted it probably to people that are outside of the industry. It's really brought the attention. There's going to be a major focus from Safe Work in the coming months.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Because that was one of the questions we had for you.
So with the silicosis in the engineered stonework, so a lot of the bench tops that have come into Australia over the past 20 years are an engineered stone and have a percentage of this silicosis in there now. The percentage is ranging well above 40%. There has been a lot of work cover related injuries that have now festered into long-term injuries, and the individuals around this are guys in their early 30s and guys that are at a working age that at a point where they are incapacitated to work. So
it's like acting quicker than asbestos almost.
It's flying. Yeah, it really is. So all the results are in place there. So how that was managed when it was first brought into Australia and how they manage it moving forward now. There's issues around wet cutting it. There's issues around dry cutting it. It comes back to task-based risk assessment now. Moving forward, I'd like to think that anyone that would be involved with this, concrete dust is also the same. People have been managing the controls around concrete dust and have been for quite some time. Similar sort of process. To the extent of asbestos, probably I would say they're side by side.
Wow.
So managing it moving forward, and people would say, well, how would you manage it? Well,
have you got best practices you could share?
The safety, the management of safety around that and what's being looked at to be engineered today to try and mitigate those controls out. I'd have no doubt there would be companies out there looking to implement devices. So, you've got your extraction and then all of a sudden that opens up to say, okay, you've got your extraction devices that take the dust off of what you may be doing, cut and grinding or whatever it may be. Then you've got, so then we'd use a respiratory protection to be able to clear the dust bags. And then it doesn't just stop with doing the task. You've still got to clean up the residual. So you're using a wet cut tool, but then the water evaporates and dries out. So it turns it into the dry, the dry application to what it is. So there's many ways of going about it. Safety organisations would have positive airstream helmets and that sort of thing. So you've just got to look to what's out there and using respiratory protection for last line of defence. No, I wouldn't be using that as your last line of defence, but I'd be putting in dust suppression systems to be able to control the dust or whether you use the wet cut, but then also ensuring that right through that process to you clean up, then you've got the necessary respiratory protection in to put in as many layers, absolutely as many layers as what's out there. And I've got guys investigating ways and means of how we can monitor it and dust recording levels and that sort of stuff. But at the moment, there's a process. There's a big litigation case currently in New South Wales, and I guess the outcome from that there will be some further recommendations from that.
So watch this space.
Absolutely.
So just going back to what you were saying before about employees, pointing the finger, giving blame. What can a business kind of implement? What's the key requirements they need to, cover themselves legally in terms of safety? I know that's something you help members with, getting them up to date. But what are some of the key things they need?
As I mentioned, the safety management systems that most companies will have now, you can start with one of the things we spoke about is a toolbox talk.
Mm.
You've got incident reporting processes where it doesn't just stop with incident reporting when any incident has taken place.
Mhm.
All right, it's identifying the hazard first and foremost that's in their working environment and ensuring that you're putting controls in place to prevent the incident from happening. Your policies and procedures specifically need to be designed around the business.
Yep.
It's all well and good to put a safety management system in place with a business, but if it's not designed around what the business, the constraints and the initial time delay, the cost that can cost the business. So
So not bringing in like generic safety plans that aren't even specific to the stuff you do.
Absolutely. So, you need to get an understanding of what your business is doing, understanding, it can lead from, the use of a motor vehicle. If you've got a motor vehicle that your staff are using for their day-to-day tool of trade to get to and to get from jobs, that tool of trade could then be used after hours for staff to, whatever it may be. Their partners may use the vehicle and where you sit with the insurance litigation in the event of a vehicle that could be, being driven by a partner or a friend or whatever it may be. So, just ensuring that those areas are covered and understood within the business, and then working, you would align with, say, an insurance company that you may have a fleet of work vehicles and, that clause is captured within that insurance policy to ensure that you weren't caught from a business level where one of your vehicles that may be under a lease agreement and then all of a sudden it was involved in a motor vehicle accident and the insurance, withheld their obligation due to not having the things in place, which effectively, if you took that, into account the cost associated with that vehicle sitting, in the crash shop, and you're still paying out monthly, and you then have to find other ways and means for your guys to get to work.
Yeah.
That additional cost to the business is a massive hurt. So all those little things, putting all the policies and procedures in place based on what your business does, and also building that safety management system for your tendering process if you're looking to source larger jobs and looking to grow your business, which today, from a tier one builder and from some of the larger organisations that look, and they will dissect your business to be able to ensure that you're going to work in accordance with theirs.
Yeah.
So that's something else that, from a safety management perspective, is also good as well.
Can you just explain the difference between a JSA and a SWIMS and when each one will be relevant to do?
So basically, there's the THA, the task hazard analysis. There's a JSA, job safety analysis. Your safe work method statement, which is your SWIMS, your SOPs, your safe operating procedure. So your safe operating procedure is going to step by step out in detail on the task that needs to be done and how you're going to go about it. All right. Basically, any of your JSAs, THAs, and your SWIMS will then have your risk rating of your hierarchy of controls that will be implemented into that document. Throughout that document, so you've then been able to identify the hazards and mitigate the risk around those hazards by putting your controlling actions in place. Yep. The likelihood of it happening is what is substituted on one side, and then the consequence. All right. So ensuring the likelihood has been identified, and then the consequence of it happening. Now, the chances of the consequence within one of these documents changing is very, if not rare, at all times. So people argue that they'll put in a likelihood, the control of the likelihood of it happening. The likelihood I'm referring to, okay, as this particular thing happened in the last. So I gauge it like this: the chance of it happening in one in a million times it's being done, as very high risk. Because if it did happen, the consequence is going to be of high severity.
Yep. Right
down to the chances of it happening every day.
Yeah.
All right. Driving a motor vehicle to the drive site is a chance of having a crash on the way to work. mitigating the risk and controls around that.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to do it? Well, for one, we're going to make sure we've got a driver's license. Two, we're going to make sure the individual is trained and competent in driving a motor vehicle. Three, we're going to make sure that fitness work is a big part of the process and that we're not driving to work under the influence. You know, have we got in the vehicle hands-free mobile phone devices? That's, you know, mobile phones, they're a fantastic tool. They're a fantastic aid. And, you know, we simply couldn't function today without them. But also a major factor with the motor vehicle incidents that are taking place and the inattention today. So putting all the controls in place to make sure that we're getting from A to B, this is purely just theoretical, just to get them there. Yeah. From a business perspective, have we managed to be able to provide them everything that's now with safety? It's a two-way street. The return from our people, which is their obligation, is being able to deliver on what they do. Yeah. And their obligation. It's all about offering acceptance. We put the offer to them, they accept it. Right? How they go about that acceptance is the biggest part from management that you'll find in operating a business. And I've found that through my own staff that I've had when I've had my own businesses. Getting that return of the acceptance on the offer and ensuring that they're going to deliver is what good management's all about. Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, from a risk point of view, the SWIMS, the JSA, it's all a terminology of the process step by step and then mitigating the controls through the hierarchy of control table to show that you have limited the high risk potential of a consequence. Yep. Does that answer you what you got?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Working from heights, I heard some rumours maybe that they were going to try and bring us into line with other states. Can you speak around that?
So, for this month, as I said, Safe Work had the April Falls, which is a fall from heights, and given with you guys with the roofing and the fall from actually, I witnessed a company, it was only a fortnight ago, doing some, they were putting the timber, the framing of the house was being built, and they were up obviously doing the second story, and the young fellas are up there. They had the state of the art. How I spotted these guys that weren't tethered off was the Rolls Royce of harnessing, and it stood out like wow, have a look at those harness, those guys, because being up with what's out there in the world of safety, I spotted that 1, 2, 3, 5 guys up there. Those harnesses are pretty expensive. There's been no stone unturned there to give the guys the best of the best. They were wearing the absolutely, but none of them were tethered off to anything. So it was fantastic watching them play dress ups. And with fall from heights today, what's out there in the way of portable tethering devices that can be manoeuvred from one side to the other, and what's in place today, it's MSA have got some fantastic stuff out there. Just for one, I shouldn't be giving them a plug, but anyway,
we'll beep it.
Yeah,
but is it they bring it into line with the 2 meters and the 3 meter rule?
So
like that?
New South Wales and I think Queensland. So when the change of the act was, and I think this was going back 2010 from memory. Don't quote me on that, Matt, but. No. So in South Australia, everything's task-based risk assessment. So on a flat surface, if you're 2 meters or 1.5 meters from a potential void, that could be 1.5 to 2 meters. That was what was originally regulated going back some time ago. Maybe 2, maybe 1.5. I can't think from memory because it's been so long. So in the east, I'm pretty sure New South Wales still aligned with how it was originally stated in the regs of the distance to and the distance for fall. So from that, the distance had been taken out, and every task being conducted was site-based risk assessment. I wouldn't want you hanging on a tethered line with a suspension strap that could drop you 3 meters and you only got a meter after the ground. So it's just what you're doing, how you're going about it. But given the tasks that you'd be doing with roofing work around the business, it's something that it has to be. It's predominantly still one of the biggest issues in the construction industry.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Mentioning before with what you said about with what's happening out there, falls from heights is predominantly, and then obviously being in the line of fire is another big one that it's happening, and that falls back to the complacency, being caught in the line of fire. So
working at heights, and say an incident occurs or any other incident, what's the proper process to report that?
So, where Safe will sit, working in conjunction with Safe Work and being on the front foot and being proactive with reporting. My whole take on it is that it's better to be proactive and putting reports through in the event of incidents and things like that. Obviously, master builders, we can be there to assist you for the investigation aspect of if you've got someone that's injured himself or injured herself badly, and which is requiring medical treatment and that whole process, we can assist you with the return to work and whatever it may be. But basically, at the end of the day, we can work through all that process with the reporting system if you're unsure what to do and how to go about it. So we can take that out of your worry, and we can deal directly with Safe. With like what in the month I've been with the company, I've already had some good runs with prohibition notices and improvement notices that have been put on particular businesses with the lifting of them to work with them to be able to get them back to a operating level. So
just join the master builders as a member, I think is the one.
Wait, it's the way to go, I reckon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, when you got all the tools. That's fine. The master builders the portal that has all that stuff on it is super handy with all the forms and all the stuff is just it's just worth the money just for that.
Yeah, as I said, I'm honoured, pretty humbled by the experience to be there and have the opportunity. So looking forward to be working with guys like yourself moving forward. So what they've got there on offer is first class. So
and we sort of touched on it before, but I guess this is an important topic for us because we did have an employee had a mega car crash end of last year in a company car on the way to work. And so he wasn't technically at work yet, he was driving from home to site, and a big car crash. Still unwell from it. And so I'd like to know, what is the requirements for an employer? What would you say is the base requirements that an employer needs to have in place, or systems or policies around motor vehicles? And also, what is the employer's responsibility? Because I would say that the fact that we got this particular employee to sign off on a motor vehicle policy, which stated a whole bunch of things that actually came to the forefront later and became a super important thing that we did. So I think it's important for everyone out there to know, that just giving cars willy-nilly to employees, I'd love for you to just touch on, if you could, what things they should have in place.
So most of us would be aware where things sit with insurance companies, and their insurance companies sit with the restitution after the event of paying out on a motor vehicle. So their process of elimination with who was at fault, the percentage of blame, that's big in today's world of ensuring that where the buck's going to stop with. Now, say for example the guy hasn't got a license, obviously there's going to be a big issue there. Yeah. Ensuring that your policy is in place, which details obviously making sure you've got a license, verification of competency is another big thing. All right, you've given someone a motor vehicle to use as a part and parcel, but are you confident that he or she may be able to drive that vehicle? Is it a manual vehicle? Is it an automatic vehicle? Someone might be getting into a manual vehicle that they may never have had any training and they're going to teach themselves how to drive a manual. So where would you think things would sit with there? That would open up one can of worms quickly.
So I had a crash because I didn't know how to drive a manual, but my employer gave me a manual car.
Absolutely. So straight away, insurance companies going to be looking back, going, "Hey, what's happening here?" So you need to look at purely from a risk management. Like as I said before, risk managing every task. As you develop and designed your procedure around what your business does and what the vehicle's involvement with your employee and how they go about it. Are they then entitled to have that vehicle, which may be safer? Now, this is just an example. So there's a four-wheel drive vehicle that's on offer to one of your employees. One of your employees, fantastic. He or she may, be a good servant of the company, give fantastic service, and the return on investment is well worth, investing a motor vehicle in their day-to-day task. And by all means, they should be able to use that with the supplied petrol in times when they're not at work. Now, that vehicle all of a sudden becomes a four-wheel drive vehicle. For example, this is just a hypothetical, just to give you a bit of a thought on it, because this sort of has touched base just recently. So the vehicle all of a sudden is not used other than the designated causeways, driveway, like all your roads that are sealed, your sealed roadways. Or all of a sudden the vehicle is then the application to what those vehicles being used for is completely different.
Yep.
So where's the accountability sit there in the event of either the guy or girl takes the vehicle off road to do some off road driving in their time off, and succumbs to an accident.
So you're saying you might have it stated in your motor vehicle policy like this is to only be used on sealed roads and stuff like that. Yeah, you got to bloody cross every T and dot every I, don't you?
And that's all it really is. And it's not hard. It really isn't hard. You know, you may have seen it with high vehicles. You know, very hard to get a high vehicle to put on the to go to Kangaroo Island from Adelaide. You know, most of the hire companies will not have a hire car that will allow you to drive on an unsealed road. Because all of a sudden you're driving on an unsealed road, further risk of accident. Absolutely. Is it night time? The increases of potential harm and the incident or accident taking place. So they will stipulate this vehicle's not to go on an unsealed road. Yeah. So all those sorts of things need to be sort of addressed. In the event of an accident or incident, with a police investigation, if there was speed, if there was inattention, if there's any form of negligence from the say SAPOL, for example, and the percentage of blame of the incident, the accident, was with one of your employees, well then you'd be wanting to ensure that how you've put that particular information into a procedure that they have read, understood, and have accepted. Like what I was talking about before, the offer and acceptance. This is a big part of it. Here's their motor vehicle. Read it, you understand it. Yep, they sign off on it. So they're accepting rules and what you're putting in place.
So much of this, obviously, the safety stuff is like thinking what can go wrong before it goes wrong, basically. So my question is it it seems like the best way these days would be to use like a master builder's tool or any other of these applications that you can get where you get like generic policies, and then you can, from the generic policy, then you can add or subtract things that are particular to your business, hey, because to start to formulate a policy and thinking that everything will go wrong just from scratch is bloody hard. Do you know what I mean? It seems like it must be best to get some sort of a generic motor vehicle policy and then add and subtract things.
Absolutely.
Any other policy, it doesn't have to be motor vehicle.
I think I mentioned having something. Obviously, I look at this purely when I'm looking at a developed document that someone has done from the outside looking in, not something that I've gone in and had a look at. Right, you need this, this, and this, because putting further constraints on a business from a safety is something that we just simply don't do. We've got to make it workable. Right? It's all well and good to say we've got a safety management system. If it's not auditable, right, and I mean auditable at a level where we can do an audit on it, and we've got non-conformances, we've got non-compliance here, there, and everywhere. Something mustn't be working right. Are we getting? So you may have invested, say, whatever it may be, in me to come and develop something for you, and in 6 months' time we need to measure it. So we've got to audit it, right? Because nothing works in this world unless it's not measured. Right? We have to measure it, and then from where we measure it is getting the actions out of it to improve it. So basically, building something that's going to be workable, that's going to be not constrain the business to additional costs, additional areas where it's constantly you got non-conformances and you're non-compliant. It's got to be workable and auditable. Workable for me comes before auditable. Yep. And if it's not workable within your business, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. So it's and by no means it's not difficult. So what you're saying with the tools that are on our Master Builder Suite for the development of safety management systems is fantastic. Now you can use that and you can go about, as you said, you can cut and paste and plagiarize the areas to develop your own safety management system. And if you're unsure, then you can get the likes of myself out and we can review and put things in place from there. But by building these procedures into your business, you don't want to be building in additional headaches.
Yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
like fair and reasonable from both sides.
It
doesn't
is, yeah.
You know?
And like let's go back to the example with the 4-wheel drive. That would be in agreement between where you are now. If you employed a new staff member and you did not have any idea on how well he or she may be going as far as operational output, you'd have your policy and procedure there. So would you put into that procedure that this vehicle was to be driven purely on a sealed road for your insurance purposes? Absolutely, you would. And until you got to understand how valuable that staff member may be to your business, allowing them to be able to use an asset, which an asset of the company, an asset of your business, which quite easily could become a liability through an accident, and then all of a sudden you're paying a lease agreement or whatever it may be, and you're not getting any return from that particular piece of plant and equipment. That can cost business critically. So, until you got that understanding of how valuable that staff member may be, you probably would look to work within that procedure. And then if that procedure may need to be changed, if that particular individual, whether he or she had a big interest in spending their time, and if they didn't have a vehicle and they wanted to use your vehicle, well, then you'd discuss that and you'd sign off together on where the expectation would be in the event of something happening.
Yeah.
So the common sense factor has got to play a major part.
100%.
In building and developing safety management systems, because at the end of the day, it's not all about litigation. It's not all about insurance. It's not about someone being in trouble. It's about making sure that where do things fit in the event of Murphy's Law is pretty good up there, or to making when it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it happens, and when it happens generally pretty good.
Definitely.
And just making sure that it's how that would affect. And that's just a scenario that I can think of based on what we discussed. But like the common sense factor would be, like I wouldn't see too many employees that would want to take their work car 4-wheel driving. The reason why I bought that, that was just an issue that it sort of raised with another business that had rang me outside. So my take on it, like fair's fair. You've got a work vehicle, it takes you to work. You go from work, you can drive it down to the shops. You can maybe go visit your mother or your other family members on the weekend and use it for a leisure activity. But taking it on a 4-wheel drive expedition, seriously, now, like where's the line in the sand?
100%.
So
What sort of other policies or procedures when you're onboarding new staff do you need to bring in? Obviously, there's a motor vehicle policy. You would have a code of conduct. Do they kind of need to read all your safe work procedures and sign off? Is it all they have to just read everything and then sign off on it? Or?
So you guys would be aware, and you would have done many of them when you have aligned with one of the larger builders and you do your on-site inductions. Now, your on-site inductions that the company have provided, whether it be through that you either watch when you go to the job site, or that they may send to you via email to be done and coordinated prior to you getting there, just to streamline the time frame. Basically, that induction is a breakdown of all their management and hazard standards in one. And basically, so they've identified the potential risks that you could be that come into, and how that's going to be communicated. So you've got an understanding of that before you get out there. Your business would look at building the policies and procedures based on what I would just class as management standards, because the risk you were going to manage those risks into your management standards, which are your policies and procedures. All right, and it's all well and good to have, as I said, a folder with all these. The thicker the folder, the better it looks. But we tip it upside down, and we might have a procedure there that could be, say, for example, emergency evacuation procedure. All right, but we've got multiple people. So on this site here at where we're at now, there'd be a muster-point emergency procedure in place in the event of something happening.
Is there?
There is.
Sweet. Carry on.
Sorry, guys, I thought of
No, there is. So that's good.
But say, for example, in relation to the guys that are working out on site, so they'd be working for a builder who would then have their emergency evacuation. So you are working under their policies and procedures, which they would have signed off of in their induction process, where they have. So making sure that it's going to align. All right, there's no good if the guys are working at, say, Burnside, and there's a evacuation here, and they've got to come to this emergency. They're working up there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's just working in, and that's a big part of aligning. So
it's got to be a process of, like, you bring, they start on the first day, you need to make them aware of all the policies, and then surely they're signing off on something, aren't they, to say, yes, my employer has made me aware of all these things that need to be aware of.
Yep, that's the acceptance.
Yep.
All right, that's the offer.
Yep.
The offer is that.
Okay.
It's part of the
offer
job.
and acceptance.
Part of the job offer.
Yeah.
So when they want to start talking safety and believe me, safety does not come with fear. There is no need to have fear in operating and running a business. If you have, if you're accepting to the safety, all right, fear will take care of itself. There is no fear because you've got it all the I's and T's are crossed and dotted, and there will be things that potentially may be missed, and that's why it's continually there for review.
It's important.
There could be new issues that come into play.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna have a Christmas show here at this premises. How are we getting everyone home?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
We had a kicking the footy
Junior
thing last year.
Absolutely, kicking the footy,
zooming footies across here, and nearly.
Yeah, so that's comes back to that. I think that would be a behaviour thing.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So just all the little things like that. Like how you're going to incorporate that within the business. And people go, well, how are you going to get it home? Well, in today's world, with the, you could get a minibus, but you know what? I'm going to get 20 Ubers lined up, and you're going to get them to their door.
Yeah, you got to think. 100%.
Because if you're going to put on a Christmas show, if you don't incorporate that, getting them home, if it's at this premises, if it's
mid-strengths only or something, there's got to be in the policy.
Well, that you're still providing something that's going to, maybe get them to a level where they don't want to be driving a motor vehicle.
No, 100%, 100%. We got two more questions, but I had something that popped into my mind I wanted to ask you. We'll wrap it up soon, but I don't want to make a light of workplace incidents or anything, because everything is serious. But have you come across any ridiculous, borderline funny incidents where not necessarily people got hurt, but
stupidity?
Yeah, like just because I've had one where a bloke fell through a ceiling when I was in the roof, and he was the homeowner, and it just came to my mind then, and I just wondered if there's just something that sticks out, one story you could tell us briefly that it's absolutely ridiculous.
Getting back to SWIM's JSCA and the training that comes with developing a document, which is your task-based risk assessment. I often get a giggle from it to see the response when I say, right, okay, now we're going to risk assess the twit factor. And they all look at you and they go, what are you talking about? Well, we don't need alcohol and drugs because we've got that level of incompetence in us where our mind at times could be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right. We could have, we could have our mind elsewhere. The kids may have be causing issues.
May have.
Yeah. You may have had a blue with your partner or whatever it may be, but your mind is consumed by other things, and this comes back to that human aspect of who and what we are. And they will just look at you, what are you talking about? And yes, I've seen some beauties with it, and we could sit here all day.
Okay. That might be a story for another day then.
And then the stories that come from it to try and look to, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't come down in the last shower, but anyway.
Yeah.
No, they're out there, and it's, once again, that's just part and parcel of the human being.
Yeah, I think we've touched on it before, but just a plug for Master Builders. What do they have in place that members can kind of utilise in terms of safety at the moment that's going to help them? Obviously, you've come in, and I'm sure you're a big help to members. So,
as I said, I'm humbled by the being in this role, and I just can't wait to deliver for both Will and Marissa and all our members at Master Builders. The suite of documents that are on our website, and as being a member with what's on offer, I've reviewed it and I've looked at it. I'm trying to find things that isn't there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Because if I didn't do that, I'm forfeiting in my role. So, but I can't find anything.
No.
Everything there's already there. And so now how we look to deliver and manage that, and basically give a service to our customers is paramount. Basically what we would do is not only be able to develop, guide you, coach you in the event of anything happening with a compliance issue around involving safe work, as I said, reporting, that sort of stuff, or notifications that may have been written on your business. We'll look at working side by side, and if we don't know, we'll ensure that I've been in this game for close to 20 years, and big part of it is networking, and as I have since meeting you guys, it's and building this relationship moving forward. If I'm unsure, I've got people in this industry that have been around for either a lot longer than what I have, and have been doing it for a lot longer than what I have. That I always reach out to. That with safety, the beauty of it, it's you're all working together, and at the end of the day, the common goal with it all is to make sure that no one wants to see anyone hurt.
Just everyone gets home safely. It's the common goal, isn't it?
And it is, and I've said it, and I'll say it, and you'll probably hear me say it again. It is the easiest game in the world to play, and embrace it, and then all of a sudden, your workplace culture and everything builds from there.
Yeah.
And when you've got a flourishing work environment that are just focused on delivering, getting their work done, incorporating and accepting of all the safety stuff, because that acceptance is a big part, because you don't want them to sort of do it for the sake of doing it. Right? They do it because they understand it. They do it because they want to do it. They do it because they're going to, you want them to love it.
Yep.
And
it's just culture, isn't it?
How are we going to do that? It's all right for you to say that it's sitting in the safety world. Well, no, it's not. It's easy. You just got to know how to do it. Generally, it's free and it's right here.
Yeah.
Big companies spend millions and billions on safety programs. It's free if you can do it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Well, I think that's a good time to wrap it up, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on, Nathan.
Hey guys, thanks very much for the opportunity.
Really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
No worries at all.
Please don't audit this workshop on the way out. All right. Thanks a lot, mate.
All good.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thanks for tuning in to another Plumbify podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the usual podcast platforms.